Hello, and welcome to Your Vote Counts, a public service program for the May 19th primary election that is being produced by Capital Community Media Center, a multimedia that provides local content, education, and a platform for diverse community voices in the greater Salem area. Also by the League of Women Voters, Marion, Polk counties, a nonpartisan political organization advocating for voting rights, government transparency, and public election education. All candidates for the position of Polk County Commissioner Position 2 were invited, and we will be hearing from Roxanne Beltz in our interview. The candidate was asked to prepare a 2-minute opening statement telling about herself, her qualifications, and why she chose to run for office. I am Angie DeVito, the moderator from the League of Women Voters, and I would like to introduce candidate Beltz to share her opening remarks.
Thank you very much, and thanks to the League of Women Voters for hosting this conversation. I am Roxanne Beltz. I'm running for Polk County Commission Position 2. So for the past 9 years, I've been a Monmouth City Councilor making real decisions about budgets and land use, infrastructure, and public safety. These are not abstract concepts. These impact people's daily lives, and you don't make them from a sideline. You make these at the table, and then you stand behind those decisions. My story did not start in politics. It started with a truck and a desire for a new beginning. Over 20 years ago, I came here to Oregon and with everything I owned and a whole lot of hope. I built my career at the intersection of transportation, infrastructure, and communication, working with ODOT, Chevron, Chariots, and Stanford University. For 17 years at Chariots, I partnered with employers to create practical solutions to support their workforce. I've also served in leadership roles, including chair of the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments. I have been president of Monmouth Business Association, as well as a number of other leadership positions in organizations locally. Today, I'm a small business owner, and I stay grounded in real-world impact of the decisions because budgets, timing, and follow-through matter. My priorities are simple: affordability first, safety always, and honesty, full stop. And the work for me starts in May, right after the election, not January. I'll begin immediately after the election because this role is about action, it's about accountability, and delivering results for the people of Polk County. Thank you again, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you for sharing that information with us. The questions for our candidate today were developed in collaboration with the American Association of University Women and League members. Candidates did not receive questions ahead of this interview, and her responses to the individual questions will not be timed. Now let's give candidate Beltz an opportunity to address questions of concern to our community. What is the role of the county in local and statewide discussions addressing drought and water needs?
Definitely within Polk County, we're addressing water resources currently. The county is working with the City of Monmouth and the City of Independence to establish what the water rights are and how we should go about ensuring that our community has water resources long term. It's an infrastructure item that's incredibly important, and we need to make sure as a county that we're working directly with the cities on ensuring our water rights and ensuring that the water is safe for our community.
With budget changes and needs, how will issues like fairground operations be addressed?
Well, the fairgrounds, it's an interesting question now because the county commissioners have decided to put a levy on the November ballot. By the time I take office in January, that will have already been decided. However, regardless of which way that decision goes, the fairgrounds is an incredible resource for our community. I see we have a lot of opportunity. We have some opportunity for some public-private partnership to make sure we bring in resources from outside. And these are stakeholders that are that care about the fairgrounds just like we do. I do see opportunity for us to work with state legislators and even at a federal level. We're talking with our federal senators right now about getting funding to help fix what needs to be fixed at the fairgrounds. But long term, we need a work plan that includes what other types of events we can have. We have lots of events at the fairgrounds. However, I think we need to be bringing in additional events to make sure that all the children of the community have a stake in this. We have FFA, we have the 4-H, that's great, but maybe we need to bring in more sports teams and more sports-related activities. Maybe we bring in drone races or robotics competitions. Let's make sure everybody in the community understands the value of the fairgrounds and what its future means for Polk County. It is a tourism asset, it is an incredible asset, and I will do everything I can, honestly win or lose, to make sure that the fairgrounds is saved.
What resources does Polk County have for addiction and mental health services?
Right now that we're going to tie in addiction, mental health, behavioral health, homelessness, and Polk County in some ways is divided to two different regions in a way. We have our rural concerns and we have our urban concerns. Behavioral health, addressing some of the concerns, is something that our Family Resource Center has already been doing. At the Resource Center in Monmouth, they have 10 different agencies that are housed there that will help individuals, whether that's with housing, rental assistance, those kinds of concerns, or if it's behavioral health, they help them get the services that they need. As a county commissioner, that's one of our priorities, is making sure that individuals that need those kinds of services have access to them. That's why we built the facility we have in Monmouth right now. Used to be we just had the services in Dallas, but we found a lot of the people that we were serving actually were in the Monmouth Independence area, and so we have that new facility. Those services are amazing. And secondarily, something that absolutely needs to be addressed if we want to talk about how some people with behavioral health concerns get into the system, we do know that we have places like David's House that help support young people while they're transitioning. And so it's just really important that we have a wide variety of services available to people. I also like the co-response model when we talk about public safety and mental health. It's really important to know that if our sheriff receives a service call, that they have help for somebody that may have a behavioral health concern as opposed to just a criminal concern. And so I believe in that co-response model as well.
What plans are in place to address traffic safety on highways 22 and 51?
Well, it sounds glib to say that's ODOT, but that's ODOT. To be very honest, I was waiting at the intersection of 22 and 51 when someone pulled out to make a left-hand turn onto 51 and a motorcyclist T-boned that vehicle, and there was a man that died that day, and I was right there waiting, and I'm still shaking from that, and that was several years ago now. That is a huge concern for us, but ODOT makes the priorities of where that lands. Right now, I know improving that has raised in the priority because of the school bus accident we recently had. But as a county commissioner, my responsibility is to advocate for that. I believe we advocate up, we advocate to a state level, and I've done that in the past. I'll continue to do that. Win or lose, I will continue to do that. It is a public safety concern, but there's lots of variables there. I believe ODOT has an 8-step plan to improve that intersection, but that's not the only one. There are others that we need to be concerned about out by Perrydale on Highway 22 as well. So we need to be concerned with those as well.
How would you rate the county's current financial status?
At the county right now, we are facing, I've sat through now 6 hours of budget hearings for the last 2 days at the county. We are in a very tenuous financial situation right now. It has nothing to do with mismanagement. It has nothing to do with the work the commissioners have done. Every employee that I've met, and I've spoken with most of the directors there, they are very concerned about the financial future. And one of the things that they've depended on because of Measure 5 and Measure 50 and the limitations on taxation, and I'm a taxpayer, I don't want to pay more tax, but I realize the taxes that we have paid, the safety levy that we are paying for right now, that's going to run out in a year, that safety levy helps us make sure when we pick up the phone and call the sheriff, they don't say, we'll send one in 12 hours. They send a sheriff immediately. So we are going to face putting together a safety levy, and I know that's going to happen. We need to continue to work with the community to talk about how important that safety levy has been to continue the health of the county. And that's what we're going to continue to do, talk with the people, communicate the need and how important that is. So rating, I can't give it a number, but maybe 4 or 5. I'm concerned.
What plans exist for providing for the unhoused in Polk County?
Well, as I said earlier, commissioners are not in charge of building, and they're not necessarily in charge of building shelters. What we are responsible for is advocating for that and supporting that. As a Monmouth City Councilor, we worked with Church in the Park to build a shelter in Monmouth, because when someone is unhoused, one of the most important things is that they need to remain in the community where they already have support. The people that live in that shelter that are transitioning now to permanent housing, people that live there are members of our community. They're our neighbors, our brothers, our sisters, our community members. So that's been very important to me, is to make sure that we continue the collaboration with organizations like that, with the Homeless Alliance, with Community Action. The services are there and they're successful, and I want to continue that work. Some people are talking about the criminalization of homeless. Being unhoused is not a crime. Oftentimes it's just a situation of economics, and so we need to make sure we're providing rental assistance and helping people remain in their homes if they're at risk of becoming houseless. I don't want families living in their car. I don't want students couch surfing. We need to address that at a real service-based level.
What 2 land use laws do you consider most significant to Polk County development?
Land use laws. Well, I mean, the most significant law obviously has to do with when Governor McCall, Tom McCall, put in our urban growth boundary. And but that was almost 50 years ago. And urban growth boundaries were never intended to be permanent, but they were intended to prevent urban sprawl. In Monmouth right now, we have real concerns about growth. There's the not in my backyard, which I understand. I mean, I live in a home, and they're going to continue to build, but we keep making more people, we're not making more land. We have to be a lot more effective in how we're using it. In terms of the laws, I would actually advocate for a urban growth boundary one-time reset, or at least an evaluation. Some communities aren't concerned about growth, but we have paper land on paper, that we cannot develop because it has wetlands. And so if you can't develop the land on paper, you do everything you can to find developable land and alternatives to that, like ADUs and multi-use and triplexes and duplexes. So, sorry if I went a little off track there, but housing and land use is a huge issue right now.
Project 10 years into the future. What is next for Polk County?
Wow. Well, they told me I might get a crystal ball when I get elected, but I'm not sure if that's really going to happen. 10 years down the road, I see Polk County in this amazing intersection between tourism, because of our wineries, because of the resources that we offer, because of people being able to go out to the Valley of the Giants, having bike tracks, having places where people can actually not just recreate, but live and work and retire and volunteer. I have such incredible high hopes for where we're going next. I really see this very positively. We're gonna fix the fairgrounds. We're going to fix some of our concerns that we have with housing and homelessness, and we're just going to keep moving forward in a really positive way. I'm looking forward to 10 years when my grandchildren will be adults, and they'll be looking at where can they live, what can they do, what careers are they going to have, what direction they're going to go.
Well, thank you. Now we invite candidate Beltz to share her closing remarks and her public contact information.
Well, thank you. Thank you again for the League of Women Voters for hosting this conversation. So looking ahead, I'm glad you asked. My focus really is making sure Polk County's prepared, not just for today, but what's coming next. Starts with affordability, making responsible decisions with taxpayer dollars, and prioritizing the investments that actually make a difference in people's lives. It means continuing to strengthen public safety and our behavioral health systems while improving coordination so services are easy to access, more effective, and work for everybody. That means being proactive about land use and growth, planning ahead instead of reacting. And it means supporting our local economy by working with the businesses, working with our workforce partners and the communities to create stable and opportunities across the county. And as I said, this is personal for me. My husband Bruce and I, we've built our life here, and with our blended family with 3 children and 7 grandchildren, this community is where our family's rooted and it's where our future is. But just as important as how the work gets done, I believe in clear communication, transparency, honesty, making sure people understand how and why the decisions are made. And even if we don't agree, people have the right to know why we made the decisions, how we made them, when we made them, and where we made them. And at the end of the day, I want to be clear though, this election is a hiring decision. It's about choosing someone that's ready to step in, to do the work, and to follow through. So if you'd like to learn more, please visit my website, believeinbeltz.com. Follow along on social media, reach out to me. I love to connect and have coffee. I'm Roxanne Beltz, and I am ready to get to work.
Thank you, candidate Beltz, for our interview today and sharing your thoughts. Thanks to Capital Community Media for their production and technology skills, to our community groups that provided questions and topics, and to you, the public, for watching this program in order to become an informed voter. You have until April 28th to register to vote or make changes in your registration. Watch for your ballot in your mailbox beginning April 29th. Remember to vote early, before May 19th, especially if you are voting by mail. For more local, state, and national voter election information on candidates and ballot measures, visit vote411.org after April 15th when data is posted. Elections matter. Remember to vote because your vote counts.